you mentioned some of those other programs, and obviously a couple of them are in the depths of the basements of their respective conferences, but have some hope and have bright, new, shiny coaches. And then another one, a season removed from that, Lincoln Riley, and even programs that are in decent shape and in a better place are really being aggressive in terms of talent acquisition. So do you think for Dan Lanning, it's just all about talent, just pure talent acquisition? We just have to get better talent wise, or is he trying to shape this team and this program in a certain way stylistically in regards to scheme and approach?
I think it's a combination of the two, because the other notable addition Oregon has made this offseason, in addition to Will Stein, their new offensive coordinator, which, in this news cycle feels like it was about 3 or 4 years ago, but it was really just a few weeks ago. They hired Chris Hampton from Tulane, and Tulane is off of probably their best season in program history, 12 wins, American Conference championship, a Cotton Bowl championship, a victory over an 11-win USC team, a dramatic comeback. That team's defensive coordinator is now Oregon's co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach. And I think, again, the message that Lanning is sending to fans and his staff and his team is that we were not good enough in certain areas. Yes, it was a 10-3 season overall, a success and above average, and you can say whatever you want about it, but the defense let them down in critical moments, particularly in the Washington and Oregon State games coming down the stretch with a berth in the Pac-12 championship on the line, and the Ducks would have been in the conference title game if they'd won either of those two contests, but the defense just wasn't able to come up with stops, just was not able to, down the stretch late in games, make enough plays to win a game the way they did against Utah, sandwiched in between those two. So when you bring in someone who was a successful defensive coordinator from the G5 level and you make him your co-DC, I think you're sending a message to your coaching staff saying, look, your job is only as safe as you allow it to be, because if you're not going to be able to perform at the standard that we're going to set, then we're going to look at other options. And I can't imagine that Chris Hampton would take a Power 5 co-defensive coordinator job if at least being involved heavily in the game planning and play calling defensively wasn't part of that position. That's speculative on my part, but that's, I think, a pretty reasonable assumption there. And I think Dan Lanning looks at what the defense did last year under Tosh Lupoy, who's a tremendous recruiter, but the on-field play calling, X's and O's situationally left a lot to be desired. And so, those sorts of moves just go back to what I was talking about earlier, and that's that the bar has been set, and I think that a 9-3 regular season and a bowl game victory against a good North Carolina team is, I don't want to say the lowest that Lanning would ever be willing to tolerate without drastic changes, but it's certainly on the lower end of what he expects to be able to accomplish.
Well, he certainly arrives at Eugene from a place of excellence, of course, at his former stop.
They're doing pretty well over there, I hear.
Shoot, yeah. I think word's getting around that they've done all right. And obviously, he's coaching at a place that we don't want to shortchange Oregon's recent history of excellence. And as you mentioned, I think clearly the school with the most prestigious history, and certainly recently, that has not won a national championship, and that's the chase, and that's the goal, that's the dream.